All right, so from the offense that is right now thriving just as good as anybody in the country, as we mentioned, the offensive unit over at LSU right now is top 15 in the country. Or excuse me, they're now top 12 in the country. They were top 15 going in to Starkville, now number 12 in the country after their output of over 500 total yards of offense. In fact, LSU is averaging 537 yards per game offensively, which is ranking number 1 in the SEC and ranking 6th nationally. LSU also enters week 4 as one of the NCAA's top 10 scoring, averaging 45 points per game, which is good for second in the league behind Ole Miss, which is averaging 52 points per game. And LSU ranks right now top 10 in the country in passing offense, averaging 344. So they got it figured out offensively, right? And through 2 games going into Mississippi State, you were wondering what was going to happen defensively because they looked like they were a step behind on that unit. They looked like they were lost at times. Guys were out of position. Some guys weren't on the field. Now, after the 3rd week, you got to, as critical as we were, and we were critical here on the defense, you got to recognize when changes are made and game plans are cultivated, and Matt House and his staff deserve a ton of credit. They figured it out here against Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State caught the message very early on that LSU was ready to play. LSU looked bouncy. They looked awake. They looked healthy. They were playing aggressive. I mean, LSU was, first and foremost, they were playing with that dog that people had been wondering whether or not it was there. I thought the Harold Perkins personal foul on the opening drive of the game defensively was good to see. Now, you got to, by no means do you advocate that stuff, and you got to, really know and when, how to drop it. But early on to set a tone, your best player, that guy was trying to punk him a little bit, and Perkins was just letting him know, like, cuz. I mean,
not today.
Not today.
Be here all day, coach.
Right. Like, I'm about to be in your head and in the backfield. And I thought that Harold Perkins' stat line, while, it's not that Harold Perkins dominate, that's who Harold Perkins is on Saturday. That's what makes Harold Perkins who he is that week in, week out, he can come in, get 4 tackles, a sack, a pass breakup, being back, behind the line of scrimmage, causing quarterback hurries, causing quarterback rushes. I mean, that type of stuff. The opening 2 incomplete passes of the game were caused by Harold Perkins. You don't see it in the stat line. If you're not listening or you're not watching on the television, you're listening on the radio, you may not see it. But that's who he is. That's how he affects it. So I thought, first and foremost, moving Perkins outside, committed to that, you can see the effect it has on the team. And moving him outside to play Whit Weeks, my goodness. Is that who that guy has been? I mean, he was making plays in spring, but
he flashed.
Did he flash?
He flashed.
I mean, Greg Penn, Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins should feel like the best 3 linebackers on this team. I mean, I know it's one game, but Weeks, the way that he filled the gap on that first opening where he shot up in there and played physical, aggressive, and had the speed to get there, that's kind of what LSU's been missing.
Tackle for loss. Let me get it.
I mean, led the team in tackles, 8 tackles and 8 stops on Saturday. He just looked different. He played different. He felt different. That felt like the guy.
Belongs.
That felt like the dude who needs to be out there. So Whit Weeks, I thought, deserves a Gordon game ball here on Monday morning. Harold Perkins, the defense. Start with Matt House. Really, I mean, for as much as we've been critical of House and asked what's going on, I thought that they really got it right yesterday, Saturday.
That was the most versatile they've looked all year. It feels like everybody was in the right spot.
Exactly. Everybody was playing in position. Mason Smith taking on the double team, freeing up Savion Jones on the outside. Jones looked good.
Mekhi Wingo looked good.
Everybody looked like they were just flying to the ball.
Mississippi State was in hell.
Yeah.
On both sides. Will Rogers was spiking everything. Like, he couldn't get a throw off. And you had Harold Perkins coming off the edge. But what they did a lot of times with him was they would stunt and get him to the inside, and he would spy. Yeah. So it looks like he's going to come rush, then he would stop. And Will Rogers is like, I don't know where this man is. I can't, because it got to the point where before every play, he was like, where's 4?
Yeah, the drive where he had the pass break up and then the next play got a sack, speaks ultimately to like how versatile he is, and
Absolutely,
how good of an athlete he is.
And what I love to see on Saturday is that they got some guys that you have to account for, and more than account for, that really change the game at all three levels. Mason Smith is another guy that we may not talk about every single play, but what he's freeing up for everyone has to be recognized. If you saw every single snap, they were doubling him. And he was doing what he was supposed to do. I mean, he was fighting through. He was fighting the double teams, taking them on, which is singling up guys to make plays on the outside. So on the front line, you got Mason Smith taking bullets for you all game long for 3.5 hours. You may not get his name called. He may not be in the backfield. But what Mason Smith does, you cannot replace. There's nobody else on LSU's roster that can step in there and for 4 quarters just fight double teams. And what that does is to free up a game record that you have at the second level in Harold Perkins. You saw the impact that he has on the game. And at the third level, nice to meet you, Andre Sam. Like, that's what LSU has been missing from a defensive back standpoint. Somebody that just flies around, headhunts, and looks to hurt you. Like, he will get you thinking whether or not you want to go across the middle. Now, he does play a little reckless through 3 games that you hope he can withstand. You know what I mean? Like, it is a long way from the end of November.
But still,
to see that guy flying around out there and just headhunting and striking people, for as much as we were critical about him in week 2 for missing tackles, the message was sent last week in preparation that you need to play with your head up, and with playing with his head up, I don't think he missed the tackle on Saturday.
Well, I think a report came out that LSU, for the first time like in a while, went live at practice Wednesday.
Okay, it looks like they did.
Yeah, so they got some real tackling in, and I think Mason Smith was the one who was like, yeah, that was like good for us. Like, we needed that.
I can't wait to watch the LSU Gold this week, to see the preparation last week, because one thing that has to be stated is that they looked very prepared.
Yeah,
they looked very ready to go. Like I said early on, Mississippi State had to get their buzz killed immediately. Like, they were probably like, oh man, they're ready to play. Like, LSU looks like they're about to get right. And I would say this too as well. For as much as we are praising LSU about how they played on Saturday, they did what they were supposed to do. Good teams are supposed to dominate what Mississippi State is, and Mississippi State is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, they're horrible.
But
they're poorly built for what they're doing. I mean, Zach Arnett clearly has a plan. He's trying to shove that plan into place without the right personnel. I mean, you saw it on Saturday. Jaquavius Marks became the all-time leading receiver
in Mississippi State
history, and now they're force-feeding him carries into the game. Will Rogers was 11 of 28. On Saturday. I mean, that is
he's thrown all season.
Barf. I mean, that is disgusting numbers.
He looked like he was so rattled, and this is the guy that's played a ton of football, and it just showed that whatever they're trying to do on offense does not jive with what Will Rogers does well.
Yeah. Exactly.
You could tell he's like,
they're force feeding a plan into a place that just doesn't.
I used to throw it 50 times. Now I'm throwing it 12.
He played spread. He played that style in high school.
Yeah, like
Mike Leachman got him specifically.
Yes. I bet Alabama, he probably was like, I should have hit the portal.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt.
If this is what we're going to do on offense.
For as many teams that don't, there's a lot of quarterbacks in college football this year. This is did you see what Michael Penix did?
Oh, my goodness.
It looks like Michigan State's quit. I will say that. But
get a lot of noise going on around the program.
Mark D'Antoni's around, though.
But Penix is...
Oof. And they got two first-round receivers.
Like, I don't know if it's him or Shador Sanders that is the third quarterback on the board behind May and Caleb Williams.
I think Penix has more like...
Because Shador Sanders, that 98-yard drive was impressive. You could see Shador Sanders said, when Travis Hunter got knocked out of the game, he was like, I got to do this.
Yeah.
And he did it.
The more you watch Shador Sanders play, the more he feels like a big-time pro quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, he's big, strong. Colorado's offensive line is horrific.
Yes.
They're terrible.
Bad.
He's playing behind Swiss cheese back there. Stays alive, and, dude, he's a player.
Yes.
He is a player.
I saw somebody say they knew not to give him speed because he has everything else. Like if he had speed, like if he could run, Jesus.
Who, Penix?
No,
Shedeur.
If Shedeur wasn't a 4'9",
he's a big dude.
He's big.
Like that's what you
he
underestimate. Like Shiloh looks like his dad.
Yeah,
you know, like
he wanted to high step on
that.
He
did. Almost kind of wish he would have.
A little too slow on the.
He did. I mean, he was going to break it out like the 40.
Yeah.
He's the one that is most like his dad, like personality wise.
Yes.
Like Shedeur is, I'm gonna be an NFL football player.
Right.
Shador's like, I'm just happy to be a Sanders.
Right.
Like I love this. I'm pretty athletic.
His imitation is unbelievable.
But I think Shiloh is the favorite kid though.
He's always the last ranked kid.
You can tell he's the one
bad.
that's like, come on, come on.
Prime time.
I rank my kids. I don't know about y'all. Y'all act like y'all don't rank y'all kids. Y'all act like y'all all love them the same.
Power
You
ranks
don't.
him. He's
But
been doing
Jaden
it for a while.
Daniels, from a ranking standpoint, is ranking as one of the best in the country. And I want to make sure and recognize and be out in front of what I said last week. I'm accountable for what I said last week. I was saying that Garrett Nussmeier is the guy that gives you the best chance to make big plays down the field with the style he plays. Through 15 games, you had seen Jaden Daniels really play underneath the chains, not taking shots down the field. On Saturday, that was not the case. That was not the style. That was not the way that he played. And Daniels like that, when you look around the league, and good point, Stewie, you look around the country, there's nobody that really is earth-shattering, intimidating.
One thing I will say,
like, who is the team? Who is that team?
Michigan?
I don't. Yeah, but like, really, I would take LSU into the big house.
Yeah, same.
Unfeared.
Ohio State doesn't have it this year.
No, they don't have it. They got a really good defense that has been experienced, but they're a lot like the country that offensively
still struggling.
There's still a lot of struggle. You see that with. You don't see that with LSU.
Mm-mm.
Like, there's got to be people looking at LSU being like, man, that is fearful.
I bet Florida State's like, I'm glad we caught them week 1.
They might catch them in a bowl.
I know.
A big one, too.
But I'm saying, like, Florida State's probably just looking at LSU right now like, I'm glad we caught them before they caught their footing, because if we would have caught them week 2, week 3, it would have probably been a different outcome.
I mean, like, you leave Denver Harris on the field. This is 2 weeks in a row now where they're obviously playing Denver Harris. And whoever was telling you that Denver Harris was a third-ranked cornerback on the third team, I mean, like, can we all agree now that was, like, absurd?
The jokes write themselves.
I mean, Denver Harris is a shutdown. You didn't hear his name called on Saturday. That's what happened. I mean, like, Deion Sanders would go months without having his name called on television. And people were like, yeah, that's the beauty of Deion. Like, that's why he's so good. You don't ever hear from him.
Did they even throw, like,
I don't know if I think they threw at him early, and then they called a timeout right after that.
They threw one, like an out route, and the receiver, I don't even think the receiver even caught it, but they gave him the catch anyway. They're just...
Oh, no, they